everyone out there in wonderful land. This is The Law, Your Money, and You, and I'm Roberta Saphire, one of your co-hosts and attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts.
Hi, and I'm Camille Barron, also a co-host. I'm a financial coordinator and healthcare advisor, also in Massachusetts. And we're very delighted today, Roberta, to have a lovely guest returning to us.
Yes, it's attorney Tracy Wilson, and she reminds me of when I first started. I was a general attorney, and she still looks like a teenager, but she's been around over 20 years, and she's going to talk to us specifically today what she talked about the last time, but with a little other flair in it. Tracy, do you remember? Of course you remember. Except more, now we got the coronavirus. Before you were talking about the opioid crisis and abuse of elderly, but now it's the coronavirus. Say hi to our guests and we'll start right in.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on, Roberta and Camille. It's lovely to be back and good memory about what we talked about last time.
I looked it up. I cheated.
I do remember we talked about poor Mickey Rooney and what he went through.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? Horrible what that man went through. And yeah. He was so outspoken about it. He finally, came around after he was abused by his family. And he's a spokesperson for elder abuse because of that. And
oh, yeah, I remember. I didn't stay on for the whole thing.
but I forgot we talked about the opioid issue and the abuse. And
yes, and now it's the corona.
Oh, now you're frozen, Roberta.
So we'll be talking about the coronavirus and elder abuse today.
Yeah, we can talk about coronavirus and elder abuse. One thing we always talk about right now in the CDC guidelines and local and state regulations and guidance, I don't know if they're regulations, but more guidance, is about the elderly population to stay home. And
right.
And the fear is because there's been so many illnesses and deaths for those over 60 and over. They're the most vulnerable population to get COVID-19. So they're advised to stay home, and they're also been advised to, they can't see anybody. So we want to prevent them from getting the virus and getting sick or, risking death.
Sure.
Obviously, we want to do that and we want to help them. But with that, there's the whole set of other issues that you kind of forget about. And that can lead to other consequences, negative consequences for the elders. And that's, there's social isolation. They can't get the services that they normally would be getting, whether it's, healthcare and medicine. They don't have the personal relationships that they have. They might see their retirement accounts go down, and all of these issues lead to vulnerability, social isolation, depression, anxiety, and it also has an effect that the virus will also have an counter effect with their caregivers, whether it's family members or friends, and those caregivers are also going through a lot of stressors right now too. And whether it's the loss of a job or dealing with their kids at home and trying to homeschool. So there's so many stressors on all different ends. I
wonder if there's more stress on the people at the house who are caregivers, because it's like having to watch a child, except it's the elder, and maybe they can't go to work now because they have to stay home. The whole thing. It's never thought of it that way. Now that you bring it up.
Exactly, and a lot of I think it's the baby boomers or younger than that are caring for their elderly parents and their children. So they're going through enormous stress because a lot of these caregivers, to take care of their parents, they were giving up, part of their income or their jobs to take the time to care for their family and their elderly parents. But now on the flip side, they're staying home with their family if they have younger children, and they're helping homeschool, or they lost their job. So there's like stressors on all ends. It's really sad. And then, if an elder needs medicine or healthcare,
Yeah,
they're go out.
and imagine the people who are in facilities where they can't have visitors, or the visitors are very limited, or even in the hospital.
I know, it's so hard. It really is. I mean, what do they don't have that social time with their families. Actually, we did, now that I think about it, with the Rotary Club of Quincy, where my husband is actually, he was the president of the Rotary Club this past year. And this was so sweet. We did a parade at one of the it's an assistant care facility in Quincy with a bunch of Rotarians. And we had a parade, we had music, and my son was playing the piano. And people were wearing different costumes. So they would play it, and then we'd come around to different sides of the home. And then the seniors would they had balconies, and they would go out on their balcony and dance, or they'd go out with aides and go outside. It was really nice. It was a great idea. But that's what you have to do to kind of keep them going. It's just, there's nowhere for them to go, and they can't have people come in and see them. And I think the rules are getting a little more relaxed now, but it's still strict.
Yeah, I know.
We did, I don't know if the Rotary in Sharon did that, but they did that. That's a lot. Like when the high schools graduated, they went around in the cars, and when the town clerk retired, I guess they did a parade. And then somebody at the elderly farms, you call it the reverse of elder abuse. It's the opposite. They're going down next weekend with balloons and everything to wish somebody there, a patient there, a happy birthday, because they're in there, again, elder, but they just lost an even older parent. So, they don't even know. I don't even know if they know that their parent died. And meanwhile, they're, kind of messed up themselves, but they're doing this whole parade with everything, and they know it's going to make them happy. So you don't hear too many stories except for what different Rotary groups and other groups are doing, and if students take on projects there. But the elder abuse with all these coronaviruses increasing, it seems that Massachusetts has gone down, according to what they say. We're only at like 1.7 it said today. And maybe I say it's terrible. Maybe they got rid of all the elderly people, except I'm still here. But anyway, I'm sure that's not it. But it seems that, more and more people are aware and are taking care. And I don't know.
Well, the whole Northeast is actually, when you see some of the charts and they compare different parts of the country, the Northeast is way, way down in terms of infections. And then you see other parts of the country that are way up. So I think overall the Northeast has done a good job cautiously proceeding from one phase to the next. But yeah, it's terrible. In the company I work with, we have kind of two lines of services. One of them is the insurance, which I handle, but the other one is patient advocacy. And people are clinicians, healthcare clinicians. They go into, or they take patients to see doctors. They go and make sure that the patients in facilities or at home are getting the proper care. And there's been a very
on that. We did a show on that with your company. Yeah, that's interesting.
And there's been a big disruption in many cases around the caregivers, because the caregivers may not be able to go to see their patients, either because maybe they've contracted coronavirus themselves or something related. It seems like any type of an epidemic or any other event that's kind of catastrophic can either bring out the best or the worst in people.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Tracy, what has been your experience with the coronavirus? Are the changes in cases, or like how you're practicing now with the courts? Are the courts closing, they're reopening, or how are you doing on that?
The courts were back in March. The courts were closed except for emergencies. So maybe an emergency like if someone's in the hospital, they got COVID, an elderly person, and they don't have a healthcare proxy, they might have needed a do not resuscitate order, things like that. That's an emergency. Abuse, domestic violence abuse, restraining orders, those are emergencies. But people don't remember, courts were still open. They just were closed to the public except for emergencies. So I could still mail documents or send documents to the court at all times. They were still open and processing paperwork. So courts didn't stop. Nothing stopped. They reopened recently. I think it was just last week. They reopened to the public, but there are so many precautions in place.
Which is July.
July 13th. That's when they reopened. But they have, max capacity issues. I can't, as an attorney, I can't just go in and say, hey, I want to come up and see the judge, or just go in and file papers. They have actually drop boxes in all the courts. So you can leave, if you have a complaint to file, you can leave it out in the drop box. They have, what's really good right now too, is virtual for the probate and family court. Anyway, I haven't dealt with it with the district court, but they have virtual registries. So
yeah, we're going to have the Register of Probate on soon.
Excellent.
He's been on several times. He's really good.
He can talk more about that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, so if you go, a lot of times people will go to the courthouse. They're going to the registry, to the clerk's office, because they want to get a form, or they have a question, or they want to look at their file, whatever the reason may be. And you take the trip to the courthouse, go wait in line, maybe get your question answered. And it would take them hours. Because everyone
do that online? Don't they do that online now?
Yes.
You just wait in line.
It's so easy. I've gone on a couple of times, just say I have a quick question, and you go onto the virtual registry. I've had them where some of the employees are working from home, and you can see, that they're at home with they're in their living room or whatever. It takes 2 seconds. I haven't had to wait in the waiting room for more than, I don't even think 2 minutes.
No
Do
kidding.
they ever have to call you back?
No, it's so easy. I've got to say, I do like, since the COVID, my business, I do a lot of family law, a lot of divorce. It's very busy right now. It's been very busy for the last couple of months.
What have they been doing on the divorces? Do they call that an emergency? All they got to do is say I'm in fear.
Well, that would be a restraining order if someone's in fear for their safety of their abuser.
How about half of them? I bet half of them aren't even in fear and just say it.
I mean, there's always abuses of the system.
Yeah.
But it's meant to protect the real victims of domestic violence, and
you know what I used to say, because I used to do divorces, it doesn't matter whether it's real or not. That's what she thinks. That was a good one.
But there really are a lot of victims, and I think with the family issues right now and domestic violence issues, and everyone being in the home, or job losses, and young kids, and virtual school, or whatever's going on, homeschool.
Do you think is it worse now? Sorry for interrupting. Is it worse now where they're all inside, get on each other's nerves, and they can't go out anywhere? Although it's starting to now.
I think you hear a couple of schools of thought. It's either made a relationship better or worse.
Yeah.
So some people got closer because of it, and then others, they're suffering because of it.
Mm.
And
Well, the people who don't, like, we have offices in the home. What about the people who don't have an office in the home?
right.
I would think that they get more edgy. I mean, what do they do with their time?
That's what I think. Because I'm fortunate. I've been able to work from home and go into my office as well. And I have those opportunities. But if I didn't have a job or anything to do, people, I guess they just watch, they watch Netflix all day, but you hear a lot of that. But I think you're going to go a little crazy after a while if that's all if you don't have anything going on.
Do you think there's more scams coming out of this coronavirus? I mean, there's always anything new. There's always a new scam.
I know. There's always a scam. I haven't heard any particular ones on the virus scams, but I'm sure they're similar to the ones that they already have. When I was looking up about an elder abuse scam, as it might be related just because there's been more deaths, that the scammers will, troll the obituaries, and if they see your spouse passed, they'll reach out to you through social media, like trying to get into a relationship with you, and they'll eventually scam you out of your money.
Oh boy.
I know, it's horrible.
How about the ones with the good old one where the grandchild calls the grandparent?
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. I think I have a statistic on that. I don't recall.
One of them called me up once.
Oh, that's what it was. They stole over, $42 million over a 15-month period on the grandparent scheme.
42 what? Million?
From the victims over a 15-month period. Yes. That's state in the United States, I believe. 42 million. And that's only what they know about.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And it's interesting because they trick them. They'll have a caller make it sound like it's your grandchild or a family member, and they might say that, well, the reason why my voice sounds funny is because my nose is broken.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll con them into it sounds silly, but either wiring money right away or iTunes gift cards.
Oh yeah, they look for gift cards now, the scammers, because they can't be traced.
Right. So you would think, well, why would they be asking for an iTunes gift card? But sometimes the elderly, they think, well, I'm not really tech savvy, and that's the new age, so that's the way we're supposed to do things nowadays. And, they will fall for it.
Tell me, you were doing mediation. Is there mediation still going on where you can't get together with people, or how do you do it?
Yes. Yes, there is. And I will do Zoom. I offer my clients choices. I do have a large enough conference room to social distance. So can social distance, it's large enough if people want to come in and do that, they can wear their masks. So if I find a lot of people, especially the last month or two, want to come in and see you at the office. I always offer the virtual, but people want to come in. So
that's interesting.
I know.
If you can make it safe for them, why not?
Right.
Is it easier to mediate when they're in front of you than Zooming?
I think so, but I've had a mediation with the Zoom and it went really well. It depends how everyone can work together.
They're doing doctor's visits virtual.
Right. I had one. I did.
My husband had one with his heart doctor. He switched heart doctors, and the new heart doctor changed his medication and gave him, it was interesting, he gave him all the reasons why, you've been on this. I said, boy, he was good.
Yeah.
He was good. Why go out?
Oh yeah, it's much more convenient in so many ways.
Right. And if the tech savvy elderly population can understand how to go onto a virtual meeting with their healthcare provider, and if they're a vulnerable person to abuse in their home or from a caregiver, that actually would help the healthcare provider see their home and maybe look for signs and clues as to whether there's some type of abuse going on in the home and whether they're taken care of. So it actually can help them as well. It can help that if they can do the virtual session with their healthcare providers.
What ways are there to kind of educate or forewarn elderly people to that abuse could be going on, or to watch out for it if they don't have family around, the nearby family, to kind of watch over things for them?
You're talking about financial abuse as opposed to physical abuse, right, Camille?
Yeah, because I think physical abuse is more obvious, but if the families are not nearby, it may even be physical abuse that might be going on.
Right. I mean, I think it's a good question because they don't always know who to call and who to reach out to. And there are many social service agencies and the elder service agencies based upon the particular area you live in, but how do they know how to call? That's a good question. I know.
And especially if someone doesn't have their cognitive abilities so sharp, you know.
So what do they do? What do they do?
That's the problem. They probably don't know what to do because they don't know the resources that are out there. Somebody's going to have to reach out to them, but who would reach out? So that's what it comes down to. If they don't know how to do it themselves, who's going to reach out for them? It's a good question.
Frightening in a way. I always tell a story about my in-law where, I mean, he did an extreme though. He not only sold his house, and he got an apartment across the street from the nursing home, but he would hire somebody to go in. Of course, not everybody has the money to go in a few times a week, and then he would pop in when they least unexpected, and so she got better care. But how many? Yeah. But then on the other hand, I've seen other cases where they don't do anything, and you can see by the way the person is taken care of that they're not taken care of. So even in the quote nice homes,
there are people who don't have, if they were never married and they have no children and they're older. I mean, their relatives are, maybe they're alive or maybe they passed on or don't live nearby, and they might not really have a relationship with their nieces and nephews. So who's gonna check on them?
Hey, I was wondering, you had mentioned, Tracy, about a scam, the I Love You scams.
Yes.
At one point, what's going on with I Love You scams?
What are the I Love You scams?
So that's the one where a scammer might troll, obituaries to try to prey on somebody who might have lost their spouse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then because most of the older population knows how to use social media and Facebook, so they might reach them on an app like Facebook, and try to get into a social media relationship with them, I love you relationship with them, and then eventually scam out their money. I know.
And the common thread in all of these types of abuses is the person is vulnerable for some reason.
Right.
Like the widow or widower who's lost a spouse could be vulnerable because of the grief. It seems to be first and foremost somebody has a vulnerability because maybe of something they're going through, so it makes them more likely to fall for these things. And that's in itself sad, preying on people who are already vulnerable.
Exactly. And then the vulnerable are afraid to tell anybody because they're embarrassed that they fell for something. And then if they tell maybe a family member or a friend, they might give them a hard time. How could you fall for something like that? So then so many times it doesn't get reported. So many things don't get reported. So numbers.
So what do you tell them, just in case? What do you tell like a viewer if they think that there's a possibility? Who do they talk to?
Who do they talk to? I mean, you could always start with your family and the local police or the elder service agency in your neighborhood.
Oh,
And don't be embarrassed, because, you know, to prevent it from happening to somebody else is one
Yeah.
reason to speak up. Going back to Mickey Rooney, that's what he did, you know, publicly throughout all the networks.
but now they're all worried with they call the coronavirus. You stick people in it, not just the elderly, but if you know, like some of the well, not even the nursing homes, some of the rehabilitation centers, they put COVID patients in with
Right.
regular patients.
I know. It's scary. And then a lot of people won't go to their doctor if they have a medical issue, or maybe they, you know, have a heart issue or cancer or something like that. They're not going for their treatment that they normally would.
Yeah,
So
you know, believe it or not, we're about ready to wind up. We just have a minute or two left.
Hey,
And I mean, you're always interesting. This is interesting, just from mediation to coronavirus to the latest scam.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it to Camille to, oh, we didn't even talk about people should start making out wills with the coronavirus in mind.
Right.
Any special last words on that, on estate planning?
Well, as I was saying earlier, you know, with the coronavirus and the courts being closed, an emergency would be, you know, do not resuscitate. Somebody looking for a do not resuscitate order, end of life measures. So estate plan and a healthcare proxy to name your healthcare agent, and whether you want life-sustaining treatment, right there is something everybody should have.
You should really think about. That's a good note to end on. And Camille always is our wrapper-upper.
I'm a wrapper-upper.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Tracy.
Well, to our viewers, thank you for watching, and we thank Tracy for being here today. As you can see, no matter what it is, the coronavirus has impacted just about every aspect of our lives. And the reason we have these guests coming on is to give us some ideas about what could happen and some thoughts about how you might be able to prevent it from happening again. So thank you very much, Tracy. And please, viewers, let us know if you have any questions or you have other ideas for our series on the coronavirus. Because remember, this is your show, The Law, Your Money, and You.
Thank you.
Thank you.